last video, best video, video 8, question 90. It says to find the midpoint, which means the middle, of a segment with these endpoints. So here's some endpoints, x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm not in a graph, but I am going to use the average. So remember that the midpoint formula, make sure you know this, is x1 plus x2 over 2. That just means the average of the x's and then the average of the y's. So I'm just going to average those together. I'm going to erase this from before. That is my midpoint formula. Average the x's. Here are my x's. And then you're going to find the middle of the y's. Y'all are used to doing this because y'all are so used to averaging grades. So what I'm going to do here is 3 plus 8 over 2, and then negative 2 plus 1 over 2. This answer should be formatted as a coordinate pair. So that's 11 over 2, and then 1/2, which is 5.5, and then 0.5. The middle of segment AB would be at 5.5, comma, negative 0.5. Did I miss a negative here? I did. Hold on 1 second, y'all. That should be negative 1/2, which makes that negative 0.5. Okay? Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1/2. And so there's my midpoint. So this, especially if the test is multiple choice for these questions, which it will be, you want to make sure that you find the middle, find the average. Okay? Again, they give you a practice question just like this. Find the middle of this segment, negative 7 and 3. You could go ahead and go through and find the middle of that, and that will actually help you get rid of some of these choices. That's going to be negative 7 plus 3 over 2, and then 3 plus negative 3 over 2. That's going to be 0, so immediately I know it's this one, or this one for the y's. I just have to find what the beginning is. So I already know that that's 0. The x value is going to be negative 4 over 2, negative 4 over 2, and then 0 over 2. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. So that's going to be this one right here. Okay, so that should be B. Okay. This next one, if in doubt, you're always going to draw it out. Okay, so it does not have an angle drawn called ABC, so I'm going to draw one, and I'm going to name it ABC. It says BD comes through that ray and bisects it, which means it cuts it in half. If the measure of DBC is 28 degrees, what is the measure of A to B to D? So if this one's 28, what is the measure of this one, ABD? It is also going to be 28. That tests your knowledge of the word bisects. That tests your knowledge of the word bisects. Okay? This one, thankfully, they have a picture. They say QS, this ray, bisects MQR, which is this big pink angle. So since it bisects it, it cuts it in half. I get to add these markings. What is the measure of angle MQR, which is that whole pink one? So if this one is 52, then this one's 52. How do I find the measure of M to Q to R, which is this whole amount? I'm going to go 52 plus 52. 52 plus 52 is 104 degrees, which makes sense because that looks like an obtuse angle. What is the measure of MQR? 104. So I found what I needed. Okay. All right. AB bisects CAD. So again, we've got another bisector. Lots of bisector questions going on here. So I know that these two angles are going to be congruent. Since they are congruent, I can set their expressions equal. 8x minus 20, that measure is going to be equal to 1/2 x plus 25. Okay, so we've got some fractions here. If that makes you uncomfortable, worst case scenario, make that 0.5. You get 7.5x equals 45 and x equals 6. It only asks me to find the value of x, which is what I just did. Always plug it in to check it. Okay. If an angle measures 35 degrees, it's going to be acute. It's going to be acute. An acute angle measures less than 90, so that would have to be an acute angle, and it doesn't fit any of the other ones. Find W, Y, Z. Starting at W, going to Y, going to Z. This is the angle addition postulate. It says if this yellow piece of the angle is sitting next to this pink piece of the angle, then yellow plus pink adds up to blue. And so what I'd say is 45 plus 40 equals the measure of angle WYZ. And so that is going to be 85 degrees. 85 degrees is the measure of this blue angle, 85 degrees. I just added those two together. Piece plus piece equals whole. All right, 97. Now this one's interesting because it gives you the whole amount. It says, hey, this full amount is 150, but I've spent 35 here. Figure out what this other piece is, BDC. So this is where you just have to subtract. You have the overall budget here. I have $150 or 150 degrees to spend on this huge angle, but I've already spent 35 at the green amount. So how much do I have left? That's going to be 115. 115. 115 degrees is left for this blue amount. So that is answer choice B. All right, find the length of OQ. OQ is going to be the sum of OP and PQ. So OQ is going to be that full amount. So how do we find it? It gives me some missing pieces up here. So it tells me that M to Q, that whole thing is 30. It tells me that MN, this little piece, is 5. It tells me that MN is the same thing as NO, which is also 5. And it tells me that OP is the same as PQ. Okay? So if this is 5 and this is 5, that means that this blue and this yellow piece is going to be 30 minus 5 minus 5. I'm subtracting off the rest of this. 30 minus 5 is going to give me 20. Okay, how do I find the length of P to Q? Well, this is the midpoint because these are congruent. So I take 20 and I divide it by 2, and each of those would be 10. Find the length of NO. I believe that we already have NO. It is 5. And then we change. We change to 101, which is a if in doubt, draw it out picture. Point H is in between G and I. Again, just give a rough sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect. Point H is somewhere hanging out in the middle. GH, it says, is 8x plus 7. HI is 3x minus 2, and it tells me that the whole thing is 38. Again, I like to color code on these problems. Pink plus blue is going to add up to the whole thing, which is yellow. And so that allows me to just kind of see it a little bit better visually. I'm a very visual learner. 8x plus 7 plus the other smaller piece, 3x minus 2 equals 38. We'd get 11x plus 5 equals 38. 11x equals 33. So x equals 3. If it said solve for x, then we're done. If not, we've got to go back and plug it in. It does say solve for x. We just found x was 3. All right, in problem 101, the length of HI. So now they actually want me to go back and plug it in. Here's HI, that's the blue piece. So if x is 3, that's going to be 3 times 3 minus 2. 3 times 3 minus 2, which is 7. 9 minus 2 is 7. Okay, what does this symbol represent? It has a starting point, but it goes on forever in one direction. That is a ray. That is the ray starting at B and going through C. The one that it starts at is the one that has the dot over it. The lengths of the sides of the triangle are in this extended proportion. Find the sides of the triangle if the perimeter is 90. So when it's in this proportion, this has been simplified. That does not mean that in the triangle, one side was 4, one side was 5, and one side was 9. That means that they've taken the same amount out when they reduced this extended ratio from each thing. They've simplified it. They have simplified it, not simplified it. And so if the original perimeter was 90, I know that those original pieces would have had to add up to 90, whatever the x was. So I can combine like terms, and that would be 18x equals 90. And if 18x equals 90, then x is 5. They did not say, what is the value of x, or I'd be done. It said find the side. So it actually wants you to go back and plug it in. 4 times 5 to 5 times 5 to 9 times 5. That would be 20 to 25 to 45. And you know you did it right if those add up to 90, which they do. If I said what's the longest side, you'd say 45. If I said what's the medium side, you'd say 25. And 20 would be the shortest side of that triangle. All right. Let's see. Y'all, I lied. We're going to have a video 9. I tried.